Welcome back, boys and girls. It's wonderful to be together again for our Series 2 Week of Prayer. Did any of you draw the gorilla? I hope you posted your pictures so everyone can see them. I love seeing your pictures on our Facebook group page. Today, we're going to continue talking about our amazing Creator God. How many of you remember the first angel now? Are you learning the text with me? Let's take a look at our slide and say the verse from Revelation together. Worship Him who made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the springs of water. I know you're doing a great job learning this verse. And where do we find it in the Bible? We find it in Revelation 14, the second part of verse 7. So we are talking about God the Creator this week, and we've been learning some very important words. If you really want to appreciate God's beautiful creation, you need to be what? That's right, you need to be curious. You need to be curious like Fred Urquhart, who all of his life, from the time he was very, very little, wanted to know where the monarch butterflies go. God made us with minds to think and to ask questions, didn't He? I wonder about a lot of things. I wonder, what is the biggest bug God has ever made? You ever wonder that? What is the smallest bug God has ever made? I wonder if animals from Florida could survive up north if we made special coats and boots for them. Like animals that usually only survive in the south. Is there a way to get them to adapt to the colder weather? I don't know. That's a crazy question, isn't it? I wonder what makes the water from a glacier such a beautiful blue. I've seen these glaciers when I've traveled and the beautiful turquoise water. You never see that anywhere else. All these kinds of questions can lead us to look at God's creation and then draw closer to our Creator. As we examine really closely the things all around us, it can make us connect with the one who made them. So we know it's important to be curious. It's also important to be courageous. Can you think of someone who was both curious and courageous? That's right. Dr. Penny Patterson was curious about gorillas. She wondered, is it possible for a gorilla to communicate? And also, she had the courage to work with gorilla, to get right in that cage with that great big gorilla. I don't think I'd have the courage to do that. But even though it might have seemed ridiculous to other people, she moved forward. Now today, we're going to learn a new word. We are all made in the image of God. Isn't that right? And we know that God is our creator, so that means we should be like Him because we are made in His image. He's the creator, so we should be creative. Let's read a verse from Genesis to help us understand that. Now you remember that Genesis is the very first book of the Bible, and there in Genesis we find out that God creates everything in our world. And as He's creating, He's looking at these things that He is making. The water, the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, the plants, the fish, the birds, the animals, the people. And every day when God finishes, He stands back. And do you know what He says? He just stands back, looks at what He's created, and He says, that's good. And at the end of the whole week, He stands back and says, that's very good. So God has made us in His image. He wants us to create. He wants us to be able to stand back when we make something and have that wonderful feeling of, wow, look at that. I did that. And it's pretty good. Now, there are a number of ways you can create. You can make drawings like we're doing this week. You can create a picture, or you can create a brand new way of doing something. You can create a solution to a problem. You can create a pathway, a way of thinking that no one else has ever thought of. But whenever you create, there's always one thing in common. You are the very first one to do it like that. You're the first one either to make that picture or to come up with that idea. Now here's some pictures that were made by a class in Arizona that tuned in for my first week of prayer, Series 1. Now you notice they did follow my directions. They look similar, but do any of these look exactly alike? No. That's because individual kids created these. They took the lesson, but they made the picture their own. Some are different colors, some have some things added to the background. That's what makes you feel happy inside, because you use that spark of creativity that God gave you. We worship God because He's our creator, and we honor God by using that creativity that He gave us. And we can use our creativity to make our world more beautiful. Maybe we can paint. Right now I'm really excited because I'm in the middle of doing a watercolor picture, and it has to do with the seaside and the ocean, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to get back to it. So we can use our creativity to paint, to draw, but we can also use our creativity to solve problems. We can think through things and come up with creative solutions. Like, let's say a cat is stuck in a tree and nobody can get that cat down. Maybe we can use our creative brain to find a way that nobody else has thought of yet. Maybe that cat has been stuck in the tree for quite a while, and you're the one that says, but has anybody tried this? Think about it. What would you do if there was a cat stuck in a tree and nobody could get it down? That could be a creative solution. And we know that God has even put creativity into the animals He's made. Remember Coco, finding creative ways to use a stick as a tool? We have many examples of animals using creativity to solve problems. God made animals to be creative, and He made us to be creative too. So I want to tell you a story right now that I heard from a man who came from very, very far away. In fact, this gentleman is the leader of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Ukraine. And I was fortunate to be able to meet him here in the United States. Now there's fighting at the time that I'm doing this week of prayer. There's fighting in the Ukraine, and it's very sad. It's not a safe place right now because there are two countries that are fighting. And so this man, in order to be able to get out of his country, he had to drive hundreds of miles just to get to a safe airport and then fly here. But even with all that's going on in the Ukraine with the fighting, their people are still trusting God and working for Him, the good Seventh-day Adventist Christian people. So here's the story that this church leader told me. In the Ukraine, pastors are not supposed to have dogs. He told me that pastors are supposed to help people. And what if somebody comes to visit a pastor and a dog bites them? So no dogs for pastors. Well, one pastor in the Ukraine went out into his yard, and who do you think was waiting for him? A dog. So he said, no dog, go home, you need to leave, go away. The next day, he went outside, and who do you think was there? Yep, the same dog. And what do you think he said? No dog, you're really a cute dog, but you cannot stay here. Now just go away. I'm not allowed to keep you. So the poor dog left with his tail between his legs. So the next day, the pastor went outside again, and who do you think was in the yard? Of course, the dog. So finally the pastor said, look, dog, I don't know what's up here, but you're very persistent. I don't know why, but it looks like I am meant to keep you. So I guess it is what it is. So he put out a dish of food, and he took that dog in and said, I guess I have a pet for a little while. Well, in the meantime, there was a little boy in his church who had a problem. Now, this little boy had what is called diabetes. I don't know if any of you know anybody with diabetes. It's unusual for a child to have it. Usually it's someone older, but sometimes a child can get diabetes, and they need a special medicine. So if you are what's called diabetic, you have to have a special medicine that will keep you healthy. And because of the war and the fighting in the country, the little boy could not get his medicine. You see, the pharmacy where he got the medicine was on the other side of the river, And the river wasn't safe because of the war and all the fighting, and people were not allowed to get across that river. It was very dangerous. They tried, but they could tell that they couldn't. But that little boy needed his medicine, and the parents didn't know what to do. So they prayed, and they said, well, let's go visit our pastor. And as they were talking, the pastor had a very creative idea, and he said, I wonder if this dog could swim across the river and get your medication. And the people said, what? What dog? What? The pastor said, I have an idea. So he called a friend of his on the other side of the river. And he said, look, I'm going to try and send a dog across the river. Can you pick up a prescription at the pharmacy? We'll give you all the information you need. When you see that dog, meet the dog and take that medication, pack it in a little bit of ice. We're going to put something on this dog in this special pack, and I want you to put the medication in there. And then I want you to take that dog and try to send him back. Can you do this? Wow, he was being creative. That was a creative solution. He was being pretty courageous to even try it. The friend said, look, I agree to do it. If this little boy really needs it, let's all pray about it. So they did. They all prayed about it. The friend prayed, the pastor prayed, the family prayed. And the pastor made a special pack and put it on the dog. And the little family went down to the river, and they put that dog in the water, and they said, swim, dog, swim. And do you know that that dog swam? He swam and he swam and he swam without stopping, straight across to the middle of that river, all the way across the river. And on the other side, that friend was waiting, and he saw that dog coming, and he's saying, swim, dog, come on, this way, dog. Dog came, crossed that river, and that guy toweled off that dog, dried him off good, gave him some food, good dog. Took that medication all packed up, put it in the pack on that dog, and put him back in the river. Swim, dog, swim! And on the other side of that river, the pastor was waiting, the family was waiting, and finally they saw this splashing and saw this dog coming in the distance. Come on, dog, swim! The dog made it to shore. They toweled off that dog. Good dog, gave him food. And do you know that that was not the last trip that dog took across the river? He crossed that river several more times for that little Ukrainian boy. God answers prayer. That little boy got his medicine and could stay healthy because the pastor let God use him to give him this very creative solution to this problem. We worship a very powerful God. So let's remember to use what he's given us. Let's all remember to be curious. Would this work? Is this a possibility? To be courageous. I'm going to try it. To be creative in solving problems, maybe in ways that others haven't even thought of. We're going to close now so you have plenty of time to draw. And can you guess what you might be drawing today? That's right, a swimming dog. Now this is going to be very different from your gorilla drawing. Your gorilla drawing had a lot of hair on it, didn't it? This is mostly a line drawing. You don't have to put in all that hair like the gorilla, but it's a little tricky, so don't get frustrated. Make it through your first one, and you can always start again and try later, but make it through the first drawing. Now, I hope you enjoy this. As you draw, remember how God blessed a little boy in the Ukraine and how God has made us to be creative thinkers. Are you ready to repeat after me our 4 drawing rules? Ready? Number 1, I will not compare my work with others. Number 2, I will not get frustrated. Number 3, I can always try again later. And number 4, I will have fun. Okay, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing your pictures on our Facebook group page. Today we will be drawing this dog, and you'll see that he is partly under the water and partly above the water. So his head is above water and the rest of him is under the water. We're going to start by making the water line. So start at one side of your paper and you're going to go all the way to the other end, making a few waves, and there you go. Okay, you have your line. Now the dog's head, we're going up, down, up a little bit for his nose and around and down. That's it for his head. That's his head. Let's give him a nose. We can color it in a little bit there. How are you doing? Here's his ear, under the water, over the water. So we now have his ear, and let's give him an eye. Let's give him a little eye, okay? Now we're going to go under the water. Here we go. You're going to make his body and then just stop. And then his first paw doing the doggy paddle, okay? So you got part of his body and you've got his little paw there doing the doggy paddle. Now you ready for his next leg? Down and around and up, and there you go. His next leg. Now we're going to do the back of his body a little bit and his next leg. This is hard. Around and in and down and around, and his foot and his heel and the back of his leg and up and over to his tail. Oh wow, that was hard. I know that was hard. You might have to practice. You can keep this and you can slow down the video if you want. And here we go. We got one leg to go. Around and over. Okay, that's your dog swimming. Now if you need to slow this down, we just have to do his back now and we're finished with him. Okay, so just close it up. You notice I went up a little bit, down and around. So now it's a little tricky because you're looking at the water line and the line of the dog. So that might be a little tricky, but here's our dog and now we just have to color him. We're going to do the water. And on the front of the paper, the lines are longer and darker. And then when you get close to that water line at the top, you can make the lines smaller. Okay? So let's work on our water for a little while. Long, dark lines on the part of the paper that's in the front, closer to you. And then short lines as you get closer to the water line. All right? Work on your water a little bit. You can use different colors of blue, whatever you like. And there we go. All right, you ready to color in the doggy? So we're going to put a few blue lines, light blue lines across the part of the dog that's swimming, just to give the suggestion that the dog is in the water. So underneath that line, those parts of the dog, you can put some very light blue lines. You don't need to color the whole dog blue, but now when we do the ear, you see how that's above the water line? We're going to make the part of the ear above the water line a little darker. And now let's just put some very light tan color or whatever color you want to make your dog, some very light lines down in there, okay, on the part of the dog that's under the water. Just a little suggestion there of color, because we're trying to say, okay, he's kind of wet down there, so we're trying to just give some lighter lines. But above that water line, we want that to be a little darker and more pronounced because it's easier for us to see that part if we were there by the shore. And let's just color his head in now. We're almost finished. This is our shortest video in all of these 5 days. This is the shortest one. We'll color his head in, and there we go. So I hope you didn't get too discouraged. If you need a little more time to practice, that's fine. You can stop the video and look at the picture and get the idea. But the main idea is his head is above the water, his body is below the water. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see yours.